when I talk about mindset is the fact that we have this thing in business we call marketing and sales. And at the end of that spectrum, we have this human being called a client. And we have this recruiting thing we need to do, right? That's the demand side. Our capacity side is the spectrum. And we do these things. It's called recruiting and interviewing and hiring. And at the end of that spectrum, we have this human being called an employee. And so for at least a year and a half or more, I've been trying to instill that mindset of sales and marketing and recruiting are so aligned and so identical in every facet. The math explains that very simply too. And I think a lot of people watching this interview have heard about it, maybe understand it, and know about it. The one other mindset that I want to talk about, and I think you and I haven't really talked about it, but you and I have had a lot of conversations. We've had conversation prior to you merging with Blue Sky Services. We've had conversations certainly after. And one of the things that I'm talking about in this video series has to do with ego, fear, and just in general, that type of concept of, the ego. When I talk about ego, I don't necessarily talk about the big burly guy pounding his chest. I'm talking about this thing that all of us have, and we know we have a really big ego if certain things happen, and I give examples. And you seem to have your ego in check. You've got really good success. You just touched the surface of that success through 2021. But in our conversations you and I have had, and I think we actually did talk a little bit about this prior to Blue Skies, and that a little bit about ego and some things like that. But ego, to me, if we can get our ego out of the way, that allows us to serve other people. And I think you have that ability. And I think you have your ego in check. And I don't know that you have worked on it, know about it, or even thought about that, but you tend to be a person that really has your ego in check. And I'll get back to that in a minute. And so those are two things mindset-wise that we talk about. And so I'll frame, with that, I'm going to frame some questions for you that I'm really interested in hearing your answers with, and more specific and more practical things than that big sort of ego thing and mindset thing. But let's talk about that. So let's talk about your hiring and interviewing. Tell me about how many people you actually hired this year, and did you have a lot of turnover? Tell me about literally just not necessarily the details of how, but how many people that you hired, and was it a good team?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the kind words, Shawn. I do actually work on trying to keep my ego in check, and I'm surprised you said that, because it does not always feel that way for me at all. I do make a conscious effort to try to keep my ego in check, but I think one of the things that helps me when I look at our team, I'm just so incredibly grateful for the team that we have, and I'm watching them work. And just about all of our technicians make a better technician than I ever was. And our general manager, she is a far more better general manager than I ever could be. And Brent, our production manager, he's a way better production manager than I ever was. And our salesperson is a better. So everyone does their job way better than I could do it. And so I guess when I keep that in mind, it's easier for me. So this year, I was looking back at the numbers and actually going through workman's comp data, because we had to report all that recently, and you know about that. So I think we hired about 45 individuals this year, and some of them were admin, but most of them were technicians. And our crew size is about 15. So if you keep that in mind, you're going to have to hire, and you're going to have to hire way more than you want to, than you need to run your business. And so at 15 guys, 15 technicians plus you have admin. So at 15 technicians, that's kind of us hitting on all cylinders, which is maybe, a handful of months because we do mostly high-end residential window cleaning, and everyone wants it spring and fall. So, maybe in the summertime you're down to 10, but in the spring and fall you're trying to hit that 15, so you can have all of the vehicles going. So, but yeah, we hired 45, and we interviewed a lot more than that. And through our whole process, I do have the numbers and we do keep track of it, but it was a lot. And so the ability to grow a team and quickly be at capacity really has to do with your systems that you have in place and being able to, screen and onboard people, at a pace that you can do a good job, but it's also not devouring up all of your time, which is something that we had to kind of overcome to be able to scale at our level. Now, because we only do 9 months out of the year, we oftentimes in the spring, we have to replace a lot of people because good employees generally don't want to sit around on their butts for 3 months in the wintertime. And so, we've just kind of gotten to the understanding that we're just going to have to do that every year. Of course, we try to keep people on as much as we possibly can, try to find work here and there, and that's going to be an ongoing battle. But the most important thing is just coming to the realization that we just have to get really good at hiring, recruiting, and onboarding guys. And I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit here, but we definitely found some things that worked.
Good. Yeah, I'd say hiring 45 people in less than a year is working pretty well. That's, I think, kind of astounding, to be honest with you.